Church of the Holy Family, 4 men in black jackets marched military style with each coffin up to the entrance, where paramilitary trappings were removed. But the parish priest initially refused to allow the remains into the church for Requiem Mass because the tricolours were still on. After a half-hour delay, when discussions with relatives took place, the coffins were allowed in, covered with the flags, contrary to Catholic Church funeral regulations. During Mass, up to 200 mourners walked out when the parish priest, Monsignor Liam McIntaggart, criticised the paramilitary leaders, who he said sent 4 men out to their deaths last Sunday. He also criticised what he said were the unacceptable standards of the security forces, who shot dead the 4 IRA men. There was more tight security as the corteges moved off to the local cemetery for burial. In North Belfast,
to support the IRA with their dollars.
A few minutes ago, the Royal Ulster Constabulary issued a statement. They say before Galvin's appearance, they'd been attacked by youths throwing stones. To protect themselves and to get into the building to find Galvin, they fired 31 plastic bullets, a number of them into the air. The RUC say they'd been attacked and obstructed by groups within the crowd. They say Provisional Sinn Féin were determined to defy the exclusion order. Such defiance of the law will not be tolerated, says the statement. £50,000 worth.
Forced their way into the building. Demonstrators and journalists alike were dragged away protesting, and there were some ugly scenes. But as more RUC men flooded the area, Sinn Féin were claiming that Martin Galvin had escaped capture. Meanwhile, the casualties were being treated, some apparently critically injured.
After a weekend of speculation over the...
And NORAID, which raises money for the Republicans, said the violence was a demonstration of British oppression. In Belfast, Provisional Sinn Féin held a news conference about yesterday's violence.
The Sinn Féin president, Gerry Adams, began by announcing that there'd be another march and rally tonight in West Belfast along precisely the same route as yesterday's demonstration.
The RUC were not attempting to surround or to capture armed IRA volunteers. They were not attempting to capture or defend themselves from rioters. Nor did the RUC go berserk. They were carrying out political orders to drive us off our streets and to humiliate us. And that they have failed. We will not be defeated. We will not stop marching in our own streets.
How do you respond to the statement by the Northern Ireland office that you were to blame for the casualties by organising the rally?
I think that's akin to blaming a woman for provoking rape. The demonstration yesterday was in commemoration of internment. People have the right to demonstrate. People have the right to assembly. People have the right to make public statements. There'll be no question about this, in case there's any doubt. The RUC have accepted responsibility for shooting Sean Downs. No one on the Sinn Féin platform were pointing guns at any of the RUC people. The only people there that were armed were the RUC.
The police justification for yesterday's action is that they couldn't be seen to tolerate blatant flouting of the law by Galvin, who defied an exclusion order to be at the rally. But it's a fact that increasingly, since the murder of 3 Protestant members of a church congregation in Dartley in County Armagh at the end of last year, the RUC have taken a much tougher line against Republican demonstrations, and most notably paramilitary displays by the IRA at the funerals of their members. But yesterday, that tough line didn't achieve its aim. Martin Galvin is still at large. The RUC's Chief Constable, Sir John Herman, has asked for a full report. The RUC now say, having considered that, they will issue a fuller statement this afternoon.
An incident such as this was bound to be exploited by Sinn Féin, who accused the police and in turn the government of brutality. But ministers remain adamant. Sinn Féin flouted the law by parading Galvin in Belfast streets. The police had no choice but to intervene, and to that extent, Sinn Féin and no one else is to blame for the dead and injured. The Labour Party has been quick to register criticism.
2 points. First of all, a serious error of judgment by both the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland and the Home Secretary for banning Galvin. I think it made it an issue where, in fact, it would have been a meeting that had passed off unnoticed otherwise. And secondly, acute concern over the reaction by the police, which seems to have been excessive, particularly, if I may say so, the plastic bullets.